Thank you. Okay, one more presentation before we stop for a cup of tea. And we've got Dr. Ivana Ivanova. She's going to talk about a web actionable register for spatial data quality measures. And if you want to look it up, it's ISO 19157 Part 3.
Thank you, Alan, and hello, everyone. My name is Ivana Ivanova, as Alan introduced me. I'm from Curtin University, Perth, WA, not Perth, Scotland, around the corner here. Sorry for a different title. It's just I didn't remember what title I submitted to Chris when we did the agenda. But it's all about ISO 19157-3. As many of you in this room have heard all about this during this week or earlier plenaries, but we are a bit further than we used to be. So let's begin with the next slide, please, Margie, and talk about where it all started. So far back in 2019, which from where we are at sounds like 1,000 years ago. But this was the date when I and my colleague Torsten Sweat from Swedish Standards Institute were asked to revise the ISO 19157 of 2013 edition, which is the Geographic Information Data Quality Standard. And that came, well, on my birthday, actually, but then I was finally, I can do whatever I dreamed of doing for so many years, since 2011, actually, when I thought this standard is quite comprehensive. It's very popular. So I hear it's the second bestseller in ISO, but at least from TC211. But to me, it sounded all unnatural in a way that it combined conceptual model with something that should have been implemented as a physical model, not really a conceptual model. And that's something that I'm hinting at were the data quality measures, which were normative part of the annexes of this standard. So we had two annexes, Annex D and G. Those of you conversant with this standard would immediately recognize them. So Annex D was a 80-page long list of more than 80 tables, most of the time broken across the page in a PDF, that were actually holding individual measures that are used to evaluate quality of the data set in various aspects, say positional accuracy, completeness, and logical consistency. And that's not all. We also had something that was called Annex G, which was like, well, an annex that was holding basic quality measures, but all of those that all of our surveyors actually know that uncertainty-related measures that are used to express or some sort of confidence in determining the value of the quality evaluation. So we decided at that point that it's time to rip this standard apart. So essentially take out 80 precious pages of so many precious Swiss francs of one standard and try to put it somewhere, preferably online. So next slide, please. Yes, the why question was often asked. Why would you want to do this? And our reply was as simple as because it's not in par with current best practices, how information is exchanged and how quality evaluation can be produced automatically in an authoritative way, but also because for us, the biggest issue was that all these fantastic measures were not accessible. And if I say us, it's professionals that do quality evaluation, but also communities that actually provide expert advice on data quality in data quality domains, such as the data quality domain working group at the OGC. So we not only had these measures hidden in the PDF, but there's lots of quantitative stuff, and automatable stuff was actually provided in pictures rather than proper encoding. Now, as a result of this obstacle, there were a lot of non-authoritative registers set up ad hoc. People were referring to them ISO nomenclature way. So it was, yeah, we are compliant with ISO 19157, but TC211 never actually would have put a seal on it. Yes, so it was really time to make some order in this. Next slide, please, Margie. So it took us no less than 2 years, so in ISO terms, 2 years is a very short time, but also like 1,532 kilometers of emailing back and forth through our technical committee, which was very supportive, but relaying all what we wanted to Central Secretariat, confirming it is okay and in compliance with the directive until our new project proposal has been approved. So that's the ISO 19157-3 in full geographic information data quality part 3 data quality measures register. Now, and the idea is to have two things as a deliverable. One is the PDF, which is the thing for which ISO gets their money. That's a short document focusing strictly on the governance of the register. So who is who in ISO 19157-3 register, what's the management procedure of proposing, of deciding or updating register items. And then the second deliverable would be web actionable measure register somewhere online. We went compliant with the directives following the registration procedures as within ISO in general, but also as within ISO TC211. So we actually have a foundational standard that governs all the registers, which is the ISO 19135 at this moment. Now, so this, as I say, it has been in 2021, and this activity and approval of this project actually unleashed a whole new can of worms. Essentially, the issue was that ISO TC211 had this registration procedure standard forever, but we only had one very specific register, and it complied easily, but and that very specific register is the geodetic register, which has very specific content and very straightforward authoritative governance, if you like. Now, data quality measures register very different, so we had to actually revise the registration foundational standard, but more so, we had to actually define some registration governance principles within ISO TC211, which after so much pressure to ISO Central Secretariat became the harmonized registration agency. So it needs to actually define very general procedures for any sort of register coming out of ISO 1900 series or the scope of work of this technical committee. So next one, please. So at this moment in 2024, the ISO 19157-3 is in a consultation phase where we think as the project leaders and the project team have a fairly sound structure of the data quality measure register and data quality measure structure revised as required. And we also have fairly sound procedures for management and governance of that register. We also, next one, please. We also have our version 1 of the implementation, and this implementation is on OGC Rainbow. So OGC has been appointed as registration authority. This is a result of a very formal procedure within technical committee 211 and ISO rules. And we are lucky to be able to actually publish on the OGC Rainbow server that has been mentioned in Nick's presentations as well. And I say lucky because it's not only providing a very rich tooling for managing the register itself, but also it is fully FAIR compliant, FAIR as in findable, accessible, interoperable, usable. So all our assets, ISO assets, will be compliant too. Next one, please. Now, in this, maybe that's just more for your amusement, and I'll navigate you through this figure a little bit. So that's the content of the register highlighted in various levels of details. So we start on the top left. So at this moment, we have our two annexes realized as two vocabularies on OGC Rainbow. So one is on quality measures, the other one on quality basic measures. And if you dive into each of these, so in our example, we went to the ISO 19157-3 quality measures. We've selected one measure that's used for positional accuracy. It's now indicated with its ID as in the standard and the name as in a standard. And diving deeper into this measure, we actually can go through all the components of the measure description and some formula related to that measure. Now, this is the interface that's actually coming from the earlier version of the standard. Now, this is being uplifted to the new interfacing mechanism, and also work is ongoing to make the navigation a bit more human-friendly, because as is implemented right now, we are all machine-friendly, which was the main objective of this work in the first instance, but we also want people to be able to actually find what they want to direct their machines where necessary. Next one, please. Now, as I said, content is implemented in a database of vocabularies, and there are serializations available in a basic set of most commonly used formats, and well, more to be added as a result of our consultation and our draft international standard ballot. And that's fairly easy, as I understand from our registration authority. If we want more languages, more serialization, just tell us, we can do it. Yes. Next one, please. Well, just a little overview of our timeline. As I said, we are in consultation phase, and that's still on for next 2 weeks. So those of you that have access to the ISO platform and are able to comment from the inside of the technical committee, please do have a look and tell us what you think. We anticipate to have a draft international standard in May next week, and then in a year's time, the actual ISO 19157-3 is supposed to be published, and the register, web actionable register, full-fledged online with ISO TC211 or ISO seal on it. Yes, so if somebody wants to use it, they can, with the blessings of ISO TC211. Next one, please. Yes, the next one, please. I think I said all that. Now, what can you do with all this? Yes, so those of us from inside, we have most people at TC211 have this gut feeling, this is a good thing. But what about us practitioners? So with my head of being surveyor on my top of the head. So what can we do what can we do with a full-fledged measures register online? Simply direct your automatic data quality evaluation algorithms to use the authoritative content by selecting the appropriate measure in your evaluation. Next one, please. And we did this few tests. So the one of the best advantages of OGCs hosting the measure register at OGC is that it gets noticed by people who run OGC code sprints, which is it's a great activity of enthusiasts that like coding and like to test stuff that's available online, and that stuff being either standards or APIs or whatever assets OGC has at hand. So we've been invited in July this year to actually propose some of the topics related to data quality. And that's because not, OGC sponsors, but also standards, the working groups and domain working groups are mentioning quality all the time and wanting to know how to actually manage this in a more appropriate way. So we asked our enthusiasts and volunteers to perform a very primitive or simplistic quality evaluation just to see whether they can access the measure and then what's needed to actually put that measure in use. Next one, please. Now, what happened was, here a picture on two sides. Yes, so what we see on the left one is an algorithm that actually, is a report that shows there has been some quality evaluation in place. So on a data set, I can't read it, but main building, fire building. So there is a data set on top of that left code. And also it says that the quality or the quality evaluation result is this, and this was the measure that we used, and that's hyperlinked, pointing to the actual measure inside the register. And that was possible because that measure is actually machine actionable. It is the formula used in this case, this is an RMSE, root mean square error calculation, is encoded in machine actionable way, which simply using MathML, a language that provides machine encoded formula representation. So next one, please. Now, next. Yes, well, as I said, our register is being tested. It looks, each code sprint that comes up since we implemented our first version. So we had the first run in July, and we have the next attack. In a few days, actually, on Monday, starting Monday next week at the OGC code sprint related to metadata. And what we try to look at is to see whether our coders and volunteers can use these measures, but also document how they use that. So try to develop some sort of provenance record related to quality evaluation procedure using quality measures from this register. And I believe this was the last slide. Thank you very much.
Question?
Yes?
Question. I need to dig into that a little bit more, but does it work for design a priori, or is it only for post survey?
Well, so we are at this moment under heavy development of the standard. So, but if, expecting that in 2026, when the publication of the ISO standard will happen, the register will be fully available for use, not just for design. If I'm not sure if I understood your question really. Yes. Okay. Rob.
As long as it's sort of making those resources fair, the idea is that you yeah, so the resources are designed to be fair principles that they should be available wherever you can save the life cycle. So a big advantage of having a permanent identifier, and Nick will say what about this endlessly, is that it can be referenced. So we can reference it in a procurement requirement, we can reference in the design phase, we can create profiles and say, okay, well, you must use this. Without the identifier, it's all hand waving. Okay, and it's really hard to know exactly. I will talk about the same thing or not. And you can slightly wording, get confusing with the unique, permanent, unambiguous identifier that resolves the full description. You can specify that's what you can do. You can access the resources that are designed by implementation. You can then implement it, and you can then report downstream to your users exactly what you use. That's the goal of having the library experiment useful building those bases together in terms of delivering value to the people.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. So thanks for answering question to Brian. But as for the persistent identifiers, we have the template for URI structure in place within ISO TC 211. So there will be, and there are still few discussions ongoing in the registers or resources groups that whether that structure is suitable for all the resources that we are planning to publish. But so it's not so many of them online as yet, but ISO TC 211's commitments to expose all the resources in an authoritative way actually impedes to resolve this very quickly. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much.
Yeah.
Any other questions? No? Okay. The really thing I like about this register is that it's so extendable. So any quality measure that you can think of might not even be in geospatial in the future. Could potentially be added to the register. Yeah, a lot of hard work going into this, and hopefully we'll see the benefits. Okay, it's afternoon tea time. So if you're in the room, we will adjourn back at 15:40. And if you are at home and still with us, that's in about 35 minutes. Have a comfort break, have something to eat, drink, and we'll see you back then. Thank you very much indeed.